Okay, today we're going to look at how do we code our new robots that we just built in Vex V5 coding. So what you guys are going to do is you're going to open up Google Classroom, and the first thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to install uh, your you're going to have to install the Vex V5. So if you go under your classwork tab, you should see material under automation, which will have your Vex Code V5 coding. This link right here is what you guys are going to want to click on. So when we click on this link, that will take you to a Chrome app extension that you're going to hit enable, and it will load it onto your Chromebook. Once you have done that, you're going to come back and you will see it by going to your app launcher on your Chromebook, and we could scroll up and you could look through all of the apps that you have installed. And the one that you're looking for is the Vex Code V5. And so if I look through here, Vex Code V5, which is right here. Now yours might be someplace different. This is where you would want to go. And we're going to click on that to open it up. And this is going to be how your first job is going to be to code your robot. So when you come in on Monday, you can test and load your code to make your robot. Now you can code your robot however it is that you want to. So the first thing that we're going to do though is we're going to have to create the devices. So what we want to do is we're going to go into our devices here, and we're going to click on this that looks like the little, where the second button over here, this could be your devices. And the first thing that we have to do is we have to add our devices. We have to add all of the things that we've got. Okay, so the first device that we're going to add is our joystick, because you're going to want to drive this with a joystick. Now, your robot, as we get more advanced, does not or will not be controlled by a robot. You're going to control it through programming coding. But starting out, we're going to have you, the driver, control the robot. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a controller for it. Okay, and then what we can do is we can select different actions for our buttons right here. And so what I can do with this, and we'll get this, is if I hit this L1 button, I can add different things that I want to do to set these actions up. We're going to come back to it here real fast. I'll show you here in a moment. But I'm going to also add in my other motors. So I'm going to add in our motors. And your motors, and I'll put, this will be in the Google Classroom as well for this assignment. But if you followed your instructions exactly, now I know there's one team that they had a bad port, but everybody else, if you followed your instructions correctly, your left motor is going to be port 1. Your right motor is going to be port 10. Your claw is going to be port 3, which is your claw to open and close. And the arm, which elevates your claw up and down, is port 8. Left motor 1, right motor 10, claw 3, arm 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these motors in. So I'm going to add my left motor, and now you don't want to call it motor 1. You want to make it so you know what it is. So I'm going to call it left. I'm going to put an underscore because you can't put a space. I'm going to do left underscore front. All right, and this is going to make it easy so that we know. Now, one of the things we all have the green gear cartridges, so you're going to keep the gear cartridge. And what we can do is, this is where some of you are finding that your motors are inverted, right? And so depending on how you've got your motor spin when you're going forward, your joystick might be an inverted joystick where you pull back to go forward or push forward to go backward. And so you can come back in and change this as you're coding, right? So we would change this to be, we're going to reverse it or have it normal. We're going to start off having it normal, and we're going to add done. So we're going to add that motor. We're going to add all 4 of our motors. So we're going to go back in. I'm going to select my port 3. Now my port 3 was going to be my claw. So I'm just going to call this claw. Now you don't have to, these are motors, so you don't need to, you could leave it and call it claw motor if you want to, so you've got it. And I'm going to make this full screen so I don't have to keep doing this. I'm going to make this full screen there. I'm going to add in my next motor, which is going to be 8. And this is going to be arm motor. So we're going to call this arm motor. And I'm going to add it. And then I'm going to add my last one in, which is going to be 10, which is going to be my right motor. Right motor. Okay, so now I've got my motors in here. And what that has done is it's given me these different blocks now. They've added them too. So now, like if you see here, my spin, I've got my motor choices I can choose from: left, front, claw motor, arm motor, right motor. So if you don't see one of your motors, you haven't set it up yet. So you want to make sure that you're setting your motor up. But if I go back into my controller, I can go here and I can say, okay, I'm going to have this button here is going to make my left front go forward or backward. I can have it, I can say, I can do this here and I can make this say this is going to be my claw motor, my arm motor. What do I want to change it to? I can use this joystick. So I can control just right with this joystick. I can say, here's what I want to do. I want to make my left front and I want to make this be my claw motor, my arm motor. So if I want to, I can come right in here by keep clicking the buttons to show what do I want my buttons to do. Okay, so I can certainly just program my joystick and just set up my joystick to be whatever it is that I want right from in here. Make it super easy to do. The other thing that I can do is I can program my individual part of my code here to set my robot up. And this I'm going to leave completely up to you. You can make your robot as wild and crazy and as difficult as you want it to be, right? And so by doing different things, you can put some special moves in for your robot. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to these control blocks. Okay, so when I go to this control block, right, this is where I'm going to have, or not my control blocks, my event blocks. When I go into my event blocks, I'm going to put in here when, right? And this is going to be where you're going to put all of your things in. Okay, so I'm gonna hide this, close this out. So we have our when started, and then what I'm gonna have is a bunch of when blocks of what I want to have happen. So when started is when the program gets started, it's gonna run my robot. So when controller one, when I do which button, right? And so when you look at the joystick, or you've got the joystick, if I push the up button, the down button, the left button, the right button, and if you need to look at what your joystick looks like, I can go back to the controller here and I can look at and see what the button controller is. So here's my up, down, left, right. Here's my X, B, Y, A, L1, L2, R1, R2, right? So you can see by looking at the controller and the devices what all your buttons are, right? And so if I push the up button, I can drag a block in here. Maybe when I push the up button, I want my robot to go into a spin, like a furious tornado spin. So I'm gonna have my left front spin forward, and then I'm gonna drop another one in here at the same one, and I'm gonna have my right motor is gonna spin in reverse. So when I push the up button, my left motor is gonna go forward, my right motor is gonna go reverse, right? So that could totally be a button that I have in there. Maybe that's just my spin button, right? I decide I wanna have a spin button. Okay, so then I can go in, I can do other events. And when I've got my joystick axis here, right, and this is going to be when my controller one with this axis. So your axis, you have 4 axes for your joystick, right? So if I push forward and back, it's going to be the axis 1 and 2, 3 and 4 is left and right. So I'm going to find out, I can change what happens if I'm going to do my controller axis. Your goal today is just create a code that you would like to see on your robot. And we're going to test it out on Monday. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to go up here and we're going to create our project, and we're going to have to save this file. And what we want to do is we can change the name of this file. So you're on your Chromebook. And so what we want to do is we're going to change the name of this, right? And you can call this Claw Drive or whatever you want to call it. So because you're going to load it onto your robot brain. Okay, so this is gonna be for you. So you're gonna save your file. We're gonna call it, we're gonna hit the save button, and now it saved it to our Chromebook. Now that's really important because it doesn't automatically save. There is no auto save. So once you get your file created or saved, you have to save it to your Chromebook. Okay, and so once I'm done with this, if I go and I close this out, and I go to reopen my Vex Code again, say I get distracted or I got to go have breakfast or lunch, and I come back, I have a different Vex Code project. So what I want to do here is go to open, and I'm going to open up my project from my Chromebook, and I'm going to find it in my downloads where I saved it, right? And then this is what you're going to have to open up when you come back to load it onto your brain. Good luck. Have a great time programming your robot. And we're going to see some wacky and awesome code when you guys come back to class on Monday.